is a great victory for our Constitution. We have to be tough, and we have to be safe, and we have to be secure. At a minimum, we have to make sure that we vet people coming into the country.
There it is, a little bit from the president on the Supreme Court travel ban ruling, saying it's a great victory. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney on the phone line with us this morning, as always, on a Wednesday morning. And Claudia, we got a little behind. I want to get the spots in there, so we have the last 10 to 12 minutes so we can discuss some topics. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
As you just heard a little bit from the president there, and the House expected to try again on an immigration reform bill. The question remains as if it will have the votes to pass. Thoughts on this making it to the floor today?
Well, it's going to make it to the floor, I think. I'm not sure if we have the votes to pass it yet, but we're going to try. There's some things about the bill that I don't particularly like, but there were some things that were added to the bill that I think our Farm Bureau and our farm workers, the farm worker program actually, are supportive of. So we'll see. I'm just getting a feeling that it's going to be may not have the votes to pass, but I'd like to see us do something. I know I actually was recently on Fox last Thursday night with Congressman Jaramondi from California, who said, we'd like to work with you. And so since then, we've been trying to come up with some kind of legislation, even a simpler version, that we can agree on just to deal with the really devastating situation going on at the border, the number of people coming over and taking advantage of the fact that we've had open borders for so long, and then dealing with the humanitarian side of it. I signed on to the bill that is a temporary measure, just a real small measure, that is the Cruz David Brat bill, that deals with the family that keeps the families together at the border, and also deals with the issue expeditiously. We want to try to resolve this issue. We don't want to encourage people to make a dangerous journey to bring their kids across the border or send their kids across the border in a worst scenario with either a drug dealer or someone that's going to turn them into human trafficking victims, which we know has happened.
Right.
And so we just are, it's just a sad situation. So I'd love to see us break this down and vote on each provision on its merits. There are individual bills that are standalones in the House, but sometimes the leadership likes to use an omnibus bill to sort of bring people together and get everyone to compromise on something so everybody gets a little piece of the package. So we'll see what's happening. This is so-called what they call the Goodlatte 2 bill. I call it I call them good, better, best. My bill that I would like to come out would be the Best-Lat bill. But Goodlatte 1 was the original. I'm original co-sponsor of the Goodlatte 1 bill that didn't pass. It got 20-something more votes than we thought it would. But this is a remix of that and some other bills. The bill that we're looking at on the House today, dealing with chain migration, building the wall, all those things.
Claudia, as far as
security,
the point about keeping families together at the border, is there something separate?
Yes,
and you might have, and I think you said that standalone. Is there also part of that that's included in this bill that'll be voted on today?
It is included in the bill. The second bill that we're talking about, so-called Goodlatte 2, has a provision dealing with the children and families. Remember, this is an Obama administration, Bush administration policy. They separated children at the border. They were putting children in detention areas during pending the parents' hearings and those types of things. This is not something new, but actually the president acted with an executive order. He went right in and did it before we even got a chance to consider the bills. And I thought it was smart of him to do it. And now we're going to, remember, again, we're still spending resources, taxpayer money, on people who are illegal immigrants. And, because we're a kind and caring country, we care about what happens to these children. We don't want them to be victims. I did a town hall. I hate to call them town halls. I don't want to call them town halls anymore. I want to leave those political town halls, the campaign-driven events that Anthony Brindisi does with all the Democrats. I want to call those his version of town halls. But I had an open forum in Remsen this past weekend, and honestly, there were most of the actually no one there was sympathetic to parents who would let their children go unaccompanied across a dangerous border. And so they were like, we have resources that we're spending on these people that they're not legal, they're coming here illegally, regardless of whether they're children, and I'm sympathetic to that as a mom. But they say, my dad was a World War II victim, World War II hero. He served in our country, and now he only gets X dollars from Social Security or whatever, and why are we taking resources away from, hardworking American citizens who haven't broken our laws but actually defended our laws and our freedoms. And there's definitely a very strong argument to be made on making sure that we discourage these people from coming across, costing the taxpayers money, infiltrating, and some of these kids are very innocent, but they're also being used.
Right.
They're being used by drug dealers and human traffickers. And that's terrible.
Claudia,
and we just can't continue to allow that to happen.
Claudia, I know that there might be a lot of Democrats that might not support any aspects of the options that are offered. Some might be willing, and you might have some compromise there. But what's the issue with the conservatives? What's the deal breaker with conservatives in terms of why, as far as the Republicans are concerned, the Republicans can't get together and all on the same page? Is there something specific that the conservatives, that a lot of people want to include in this reform package and these bills, but the conservatives that are necessary for the vote to pass just aren't going to get on board?
Is this an amnesty issue, or is there more than that?
Yes. The issue is, what is your definition of amnesty, and what do you consider amnesty to be? There are people on the hard right who do not think that any of these people, and I'm referring mostly to the DACA children that have been brought over, years ago, that there are many that believe that they should never have any path to citizenship, that they should never be legal under any circumstances, even if they've proven themselves through a merit-based immigration system, even if they get in the back of the line and let legal immigrants who are, coming here legally with applications, doing it the right way, even if they get in the back of the line and prove that they could be meritorious citizens, they're opposed to any path to legalization or citizenship for these people.
Claudia, your position, right, you are in favor of a path to citizenship for the DACA people. Is that correct?
I'm at least in favor of a path to legalization so that they can have jobs, they
right,
can get a green card. If there are people who can go through the system, there's a specific merit-based analysis of each one of these kids. You cannot be dependent on social services. You cannot be convicted of a crime or any kind of, you have to be a good citizen. You have to show a willingness and a desire to be an American citizen, to live by a rule of law. And there's a number of steps, and you have to get in line, and there's a cutoff date, and they have to build the wall, which is part of what this bill says. The wall has to be built before anyone can even be considered. So a lot of the people that want border security, this triggering mechanism on building the wall, is in this second bill.
Mm-hmm. $25 billion for the border
and
security.
The wall is funded. The president supports it. The president offered the Democrats 1.8 million citizens, and the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and our new favorite friend Maxine Waters, said, "Oh no, you're racist." I mean, he literally offered citizenship, which was much more than President Obama offered, and he did that in the spirit of let's get this thing out of the way, let's secure the border, let's start from that point on, and can preserve our sovereignty, preserve our borders. Bring these people in, make them citizens, and the ones that can be good citizens. If you listen to the Democrats, every one of these people is a valedictorian of their class, and they're super citizens, which, a lot of them are really super citizens, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are involved in other activities. So let's weed them out and take the good ones to the merit-based system. The bottom line
that the Democrats just don't want to compromise at all on the wall. They just don't. We can work with everything else, but as far as the wall concerned, we're not going to build a wall.
I think the president is actually right on this one. I don't agree with him on everything, and I don't agree with him on some of the way he goes about something. He is absolutely right. When the Democrats will not vote on anything that we put before the House, it is the same in tax reform. They absolutely will not vote on anything. They will not give us the votes that we have to do this, to solve this problem, to make the American people safe and secure. And it just confounds me. They are on such an extreme path right now. And you see this in just yesterday's primary, that longtime Congressman Joe Crowley was defeated by a socialist in New York City. That's what we have facing us in this country. The Democratic Party has lost all of its reasonableness, and they are literally cleaving to the socialist movement.
Let me interrupt you 1 minute.
It's scary.
What's wrong with Trump's idea that these people who come across the border illegally, just send them back? They're not going to give them a hearing. We're not going to have a judge. They came across illegally. They catch them. Just send them back. What's wrong with that?
Because
we got about a minute, Claudia.
Why can't they do that?
That's not just Trump's idea. But here's the problem: you do have legitimate asylum seekers, people who are fleeing oppression or fleeing.
But they have to come through a port. These people are not coming through a port.